Good morning. It is currently 8:55. We just finished up breakfast at the Mono Vista RV Park, and we drove in through the Tioga Pass. We went past Lake Tenaya, and we are here at what are we? We're here at some observation point, but you can see behind me right here, there's Half Dome. Later we're going to be doing the May Lake hike, Olmsted. I think this is Olmsted observation, but we're just waiting for the other group of people to join us.
And so this viewpoint is named for Frederick Law Olmsted, and he was famous. He was an architect. He helped design Central Park in New York.
Golden Gate Park, San Francisco.
Yep.
Yeah, so he was out here, and he was one of the early people when this park was just forming in the, I think the 1860s or sometime around there, when it was just forming. And he was one of the persons that foresaw that this place was going to have more and more people, and he actually wrote a management plan for Yosemite. His ideas didn't get taken up, but he had a really influential role in at least foreseeing how this park was going to have more people and how to manage it. And so he came here, and his son, Frederick Law Olmsted Jr., was here too. So there's a sign over there that talks about both Olmsteds and their role. They both have a significant role and influence in the park, so that's why it's named for Olmsted.
So we're here at the May Lakes Trailhead. So you can see behind me, Yosemite's about 10 miles back that way. There are restrooms, as well as garbage and recycling depository. So the hike out to May Lakes is about 1.5 miles, 3-mile round trip. So let's go get it. Bear habitat, proper food storage required by federal law. And here are some beer canisters.
I feel like it's been 10 years now. There's no date. But I helped with just making sure, editing it, and making sure they added the Chinese roll in the construction of the Great Sierra Wagon Road. So that's the Great Sierra Wagon Road, the original road.
That we came in?
And this is the continuation of it.
Oh.
And goes around. Olmsted is just behind us. And this is the trail that a lot of backpackers will take. So backpackers will see this sign. Yeah. So from May Lake is a high Sierra camp,
yep,
and it's a loop. So if you want to go backpacking, this was established in the early 1900s. I think Stephen Ting Mather, who was the first director of the Park Service, really had a role in Yosemite's establishment of a high Sierra camp, because he had a huge role in foreseeing what parks should be about. There were already hotels here before the National Park Service, but he wanted to have people have a quality experience, and he wanted people to go out in the backcountry. And just like the Mather Mountain Party, some people want a little bit more luxury, not carrying 30 to 50 pounds on their back, probably 50 pounds back then, because tents were heavier, everything was heavier. So the high Sierra camps allows people to backpack without carrying basically their tent and food. So you still needed some of your essentials, but you get to a high Sierra camp, you have bedding, you could bring a little slips, sheets, but supposedly you had everything provided and food provided. So the May Lake area, there's a high Sierra camp up there. You'll see the tent structures. They didn't open it this summer and the last 2 summers, but normally yearly it's always open. So from May Lake, they head down this way to Tenaya Lake, which was the original camp. Tenaya Lake got moved to May Lake. And from Tenaya Lake you go up to Sunrise. I don't have a good map. And from Sunrise, I could show you on my park map, but it's too small for everybody. From Sunrise it goes down to Merced Lake, which is just above, near towards Half Dome. And then from there you hike uphill, like 2,000 feet to Vogelsang, and then from Vogelsang to Twine Meadows. And Twine Meadows to Quinola. So it's like a loop. It takes 7 days on average, with 1 rest day. Or you can do a 5-day loop, which excludes some of those camps to make it easier. And I've done that twice, and I love the High Sierra camps. You have, just like Tai Sing, fresh baked bread, salads, delicious food, and you have your breakfast. It's a big meal like pancakes and blueberries, and then you have a sack lunch they send you off with, and at dinner you have, again, incredible food. It's a multi-course
3-course, wow.
meal, so you really feel recharged for the next day.
Are they still doing that at all now?
They are, except it's run by the concessionaire, and the concessionaire hasn't been able to hire enough people. So they closed. Tuolumne Meadows is it's considered a High Sierra camp, even though it's front country. So people usually start in Tuolumne Meadows and then head out to that. It says High Country Highway. The road behind you is a remnant of the Great Sierra Wagon Road. In 1915, Stephen Mather, the soon-to-be director of the newly formed National Park Service, purchased and donated the road to the federal government and called it the Tioga Road. Adventurous early travelers followed a narrow, curving dirt roadway that was often clogged by fallen trees or rock slides. As horse-drawn wagons and saddle horses gave way to motorized vehicles, the road was modernized and realigned in 1961. So that was when they did the realignment at Olmsted. It shows you some pictures. The Great Sierra Wagon Road was built to allow for the transportation of supplies to the silver mines near Tioga Pass. Construction of the road began at Crocker Station near Big Oak Flat in 1882 and ended just beyond Tioga Pass in 1883. In 130 days, approximately 250 Chinese and 90 Caucasian laborers built the 56.25-mile road with hand picks and shovels, blasting through hard rock with black powder. This amazing feat was accomplished for the relatively low cost of $61,095.22, or $1,100 per mile. However, within 2 years of the road's completion, the boom was over and the mines were abandoned. This is a pretty cool picture. You can look at it. You can see that the rock work they had to do with the blasted rock to build a structure for the road. It's still there, it's still part of the roadbed, but when we widened the road from like this narrow wagon road to a modern 2-lane road, a lot of this is like, covered, but this shows you what it looks like. And then this is a wagon road, this is the Tioga Road, with both sides of the wagon. So it's pretty neat that, I think, if the Chinese weren't so quick and efficient.
This story was never told. We never knew anything about this. All we hear about is the Caucasian side of the story. So what you're bringing to us is
very significant.
Yeah.
YenYen, so you helped make this plaque, which I think I want to bring up something else that just happened. So YenYen's been with the National Park Service for a while. She's helped create plaques like this with this historic information. But also this last year, she and 2 other National Park Service people were honored by winning the Tilden Award.
Yeah.
It's a regional award for, for interpretation, for telling the story of national parks. And for this year, she and Adam Ramsey and I forgot the Adrian, who worked on the laundry facility for, we may be able to see tomorrow afternoon, won the regional Tilden Award for interpretation. It's an award that is given regionally and given to people who've done an exceptional job in interpreting or educational material. So the laundry facility got noted for its because it is so unique, a different path for the National Park Service, and of course YenYen was a major part of the information and how information was displayed and the story being told. So not only did she did like plaque like this, which maybe we should have another 5 of these along.
There's actually one on in front of the Tuolumne Meadows store I worked on, and I had worded it, and Adrian cut it down, and I was like, no! It was so well worded, but it's there, and it's in the store parking lot. All the big signs you see, like Tuolumne, the Lambert Dome parking, Dog Lake parking, I worked on all the wording, and I tried to squeeze in Chinese history, so one of them has it down there.
So it's incredibly important, since we're all gathered here and some of us may be taken off and not be able to attend the rest of the pilgrimage. So I want to also note the reason why we do pilgrimages, the reason why this information, Robin, is so important. The last few months, last year or so, I've been active in the Stop AA hate program. California leads the country in hate crimes, harassment against people of color, women, and so forth. Even though California has the most number of Asians, we have the most number of hate crimes taking place in California. And it shouldn't be, because you would think if you have more Asians, maybe more people would be used to having Asians around here. But hate crimes take place in California. There's many ways to fight hate in our communities. And one is to provide just general education about how Asian Americans have been in California for a long time and have contributed towards it. It is a positive type of message which can try to stop that hatred against Asian Americans. We do other things to stop hate too, and we should of course do that. But education and general knowledge about Asian Americans in California is a critical element. It is more positive and kind of a subtle approach to trying to create better understanding and knowledge about Asian Americans in California. And so to me, that's why this is so important for us to have this pilgrimage and events like this. And of course, it's not bad that we have award-winning people in the National Park Service that provide that information.
Yeah, when we went 3 years ago. When we were there 3 years ago, you remember, it was a warehouse for the stagecoach, you know, and stuff like that.
Yeah, the National Park Service has come a long way in the intervening 10 years. They're making more headway, but it is not easy. It takes a lot of advocacy, organization, just like this pilgrimage is taking, to make those things happen over a stretch of time. If we did the pilgrimage for 1 year or 2 years, I don't think we'll be this far now. Right. It took really 5 years for us to get one article that was pretty good, you know, in terms of prominence, and for us to also help the book Mountain Chef get out. After 6-7 years, more and more articles came out. And of course, this year, because of the opening of the laundry facility, it's on, you know, on national TV. It's on the Today Show. So it was a real treat.
But really, Jack had the idea, and he contacted all of us. And you said to me, I remember, we need to make this 10 years because we need to have that momentum. And you just had that foresight and realizing that we needed this momentum, and now look at what's happened. It's incredible. So thank you for just all the support, especially the Historical Society has done so much to help us.
And let me add, so both YenYen and Jack have said provided some pretty inspiring background as to the effort that was made. But I can share with you, phone conversations with Jack and with YenYen, that you really hear how difficult it really is to work through the bureaucracy, to negotiate changes. And this is what we have to do. It's not just showing up and just having a fun time, but you should go back home and take to your own communities the same enthusiasm and energy, because if a plaque in a Pasadena alley, or a marker on the site of the Chinese massacre in LA, or a plaque for the Chinatown in Santa Ana that was deliberately burned by the city council there because they thought the Chinese in Chinatown were bringing in the plague. There are all these misunderstandings, misperceptions, and just pure plain hate. And so it's an educational process. Susan and I and others have worked on the state curriculum and provided language for lesson plans, but there's a heck of a lot more to be done. So there are some states like Illinois that has required ethnic studies as a requirement for graduation for your schools. But what about all the other states across the country? So there's a lot of work to be done. But in the meantime, we're going to have some fun. Enjoy the hike.
10 more years!
Oh my gosh.
10 more years!
Repeat. So I remember that the last time Susan and I went up to May Lake, you know, it's kind of hot and it's kind of warm, it's steep, but seeing that blue lake in front of you is just absolutely wonderful. If part way along the way you feel like you're getting tired, don't worry. You know, it's not that bad. The end is not that far away.
And it's downhill on the way back.
Yeah.
It's not too bad. We'll take it easy. It's a big group. Yeah, and we'll get there. Just let us know. We're gonna go safely, and we're gonna enjoy it. We're not gonna be like saying things like this is too hard, because it's gonna be a great view, and yeah, we'll just get there together.
May Lake, 1.2 miles. Here we go.
Seeing this book, it's actually printed from the Sequoia Natural History Association. Because the Mountain Party started in Sequoia, it went through Kings Canyon to Mount Whitney, and then he went down to Lone Pine, took a car, and it's written in here how they went up Tioga Pass when it was a tiny narrow road, and how freaked out they were going up the road with people from the local town in the Eastern Sierra. But it describes the 1915 trip, and I want Marlo to read part of this and Julia to read the rest of that last meal. So this is just part of it. So start with small bouquets of
cones and green boughs were at each place on the freshly washed linen tablecloth. Dinner was superb, more than usually superb. Along with trout, venison, and the last of treasured tasties, as Ty called them, was a special dessert of which enclosed a future fortune for each of the mountain party. Tai Sing had personally written his notes in Chinese and English. They showed that this man could not only be counted as the gourmet of the Sierra, but the philosopher of the Sierra.
Okay, I'm gonna have Julia read this. Good job, Marla.
Unfortunately, not all his wise messages are known, but a few were recorded. To Marshall, Chief, long may you search the mountains. To McClure, long may you build the paths through the mountains. To Mather, the sound of your laughter will fill the mountains when you are in the sky. To Albright, you are the spirit and soul of your leader. And to Hugh, where but in the mountains would such a man become a spirit with the mountains?
Poetic.
Isn't that beautiful? Yeah, and so this is the other book that we're gonna see the artist who wrote the fortunes in English and Chinese. And he does, for example, one says, long may you build the paths through the mountains. He puts here, long may you search the mountains, long may you build the paths through the mountains. Where but in the mountains would such a man become a spirit with the mountains? And that was for Huff. He was the writer, a real naturalist who loved nature and took a real liking to Tai Sing, would always hang back with Tai Sing while they were on the horses and just talk with him, and gave his favorite red shirt that he rode for the whole program, like his whole trip. It's all dirty and sweaty, but Tai Sing took a liking to it, probably commented, nice red shirt, and so he gave him the shirt as a gift to Tai Sing. Yeah, so it was really cool. Let's go.
I wonder, are we saved? Play-Doh.
Play-Doh. Way back then. And it's not a question mark. We are saved by wonder. This is another short rest stop. Oh, we have a couple more people. And this is a good view of Hoffman, Mount Hoffman right there. And May Lake is just below Hoffman. It's named for, I think he was, forget if he was an architect or a geographer. I think he was a geographer at the USGS.
And a quick break. We're about 0.75 miles in. There looks like another peak over there, Sim Peak maybe. And we're halfway there to May. We're taking quick short breaks along the way. Current temperatures are in the 80s. It's a little warm, but we're taking it slow and taking a lot of snack and drink breaks.
So I went through 12 years of doing strictly abstract.
Wow.
And so from there I find out that my emotion doesn't matter if you don't transform that into your audience. So through my public arts, I want to capture the moment in a split, maybe 2 seconds of their lives. If they stop to think, your mission is accomplished. If they walk by it, they never saw the message.
Wow. Wonderful. Where was your, well, I don't want to, you're going to give us a talk later, so we better like hold on.
You know what, I start out doing a real short speech, but talking to everybody. Now I understand the importance telling you all that how my family got there and how I got there to here. Because I never thought the history is that important until I met everybody here. Now I think it's part of my mission from the last 2 projects which have Chinese themes in it, that I think it's now my responsibility to help preserve.
Alright, restrooms here at May Lake. Looks like some beer canister, beer boxes. And the lake is right over here. May Lake. And right up there is Hoffman Lake.
At May Lake, and this is the map of the whole park, and north is that way, so May Lake is right here, and right next to it is Mount Hoffman. So this is really, if you were to put like a pin right in the middle, this is the center of the whole park right here. And like, I don't want to keep you down there too long. So, and then if you go this way, Sing Peak is right here.
Just how you are
Sing
too.
Peak is just right back
I love
here.
this. It's a YenYen service.
All right, that's good. So where we are and how this mountain range formed, to the west, that's north. So to the west is the Pacific Ocean. To the east is the high deserts of the eastern Sierra. So a long time ago, 200 million years ago, this place was covered in water. There were no mountains here. If you looked at an old geologic map of what this place looked like, most of the Pacific Ocean covered the whole western part of the US, all the way to Washington, Oregon, California. So it was an inland sea. And then there was a shift in tectonic plates. So we're on, what plate are we on? Tectonic plate. On the Earth, there's plates.
Pacific.
Something. We're on the North American plate. Yay! And to the west of us is the Pacific plate. Well, there was a plate called the Farallon, which you can see a little bit left of. It's not completely consumed. And that was the oceanic plate that subducted under the North American plate like this. And when that subduction happened, that oceanic plate that's heavier and denser, what happens when a plate goes deeper? It pushes up the top. But how does it push up the top? It does do a little bit.
Yeah, pushes up from the bottom.
There's like some folding. Jack? Well, yeah, so what happens is magma forms, right? Hot molten magma. The magma starts to rise and creates a volcanic range. And so this long 400-mile range, the Sierra Nevada, was a volcanic range. The ancestral Sierras was an active volcanic range, starting about 120 million years ago to about 60 million years ago. So 60 million years of subduction, creating a volcanic range, and then it stopped. There's not much left Farallon left. It's Pacific Plate now. And this volcanic range became dormant. And then over time, from erosion, from the sun, from rain, from other effects of erosion, exfoliation, the range exfoliated and eroded to the west, filling the Central Valley of California. So that was, Central Valley was sort of where that intersection met. Filled the Central Valley. You can go to the Central Valley to Fresno, Merced, and dig, or Sacramento, dig 3 miles, 4 miles deep of volcanic eroded soil. It's a very deep Central Valley soil thickness. And under the volcanoes was this. So all this was formed when the magma cooled slowly over millions of years, between 60 to 80 million years ago. The youngest of the rocks is about 60 million years old. The older ones that cooled first are about 80 million years old. And then since we now have this, now we've got more exfoliation, right? The last part of the story is to the east. We think there's this range uplift. So if this was the west and this is the east, and the range, the Sierra Nevada range is here. There's a fault line around here, and there's a lot of volcanic activity by Mammoth. We think there's an uplift that's been slowly rising, so imperceptible, maybe a centimeter or an inch over 100 years, so like a tiny millimeter at most. But over time, over thousands of years, that's why the highest peaks are on the east and the lower peaks are on the west. And that's why Tioga Pass is a really steep drop, whereas if you go out to the west, it's a nice, gentle. And that's when the last part of the story is the glaciations. We know like 1 to 2 million years ago is when we had multiple glaciers. That's as far back as we know. And those glacial periods go in a cycle about every 100,000 years. And it's because of the way the Earth's rotating around the axis. There's a wobble, and there's also a cycle as it goes around the sun. And those 3 different patterns sends us into ice ages. When we're farther from the sun, our rotation around the sun is further. They're slightly cooler, and then we'll have a period of ice age. And so we've had multiple ones. And you can see right here where the ice was during ice ages. You can see the top of Hoffman was above the ice. Because ice ages, essentially the glaciers that come through here are snowfields that move and they smooth out, like that area was under the glacier. You see how smooth it is? So what's beautiful about the Sierra Range, and especially Yosemite, is significant because of the glaciers and how they carve through this hard rock. It makes this landscape. And so this is my favorite map from geology.
Wow.
And it was during a bigger ice age because it stopped here last time, but it went all the way down. It's glacial. I mean, it's a moraine and erratic. From here, it's Cathedral Peak granodiorite. So it's a specific rock in Tuolumne in this region that's down here in the river.
Wow, that's awesome.
It's right across the El Portal Market. If you walk to the river, you'll see it.
Okay, so we just finished up lunch and took a bunch of group photos.
Did artwork and haiku.
Artwork and haiku, poems. And we're just heading back down the trail. About a 1.2 mile hike back. You're okay. Alright, a little trail update. We're about halfway back down. Just a bunch of rocks along the trail. Trail fire breaks, or water breaks. Gorgeous views of the Sierras. We stopped at May Lake. I jumped in for a swim. Nice, cool, and refreshing. It was an awesome time up there. Getting to know some of the new people from the different Chinese organizations. And YenYen talked about the glaciers, how they formed a lot of the lakes, the Tenaya, May Lake in this area. Yeah, it's just awesome to see all these peaks in the back. About a quarter mile back to the trailhead, but it's been a good hike. It's gonna be coming out to maybe 2.5 miles round trip. We had a nice lunch at May Lake, took a dip in the water, it was nice and cold and refreshing, and met some really nice people. If you enjoy content like this, hiking, being in the outdoors, please subscribe and hit that like button. Until next time, take care and let's find your next adventure. Little squirrel or